Alright, so hello and welcome to our Intro to Java class. This is the first class in a 9-part series, assuming that the curriculum does not need to change. And we're going from having not really even knowing what Java is to the point of knowing all the core features of the language itself. And then from there you should be good to learn anything else on your own if you need to, but we'll also have other classes. So let's go ahead and get started. I do have this presentation. We will be switching back and forth between the presentation and writing code. If you do not have a code editor already installed, something like Visual Studio Code is what I usually recommend because it's pretty lightweight and fast. Usually not my first choice, but for teaching, it's much easier to get up and running more quickly. So if you can get that installed or some equivalent, you can use that when we do the parts where we do code, although it's limited in this lesson. And you can just kind of have that going in the background once you get it started. Okay, so let's go ahead and move forward. Today we will cover using terminal and command prompt. Some of you may be familiar with this already, and it's not strictly a requirement for Java. Many systems actually don't need you to use this to run Java programs. However, if you don't have some kind of fancy program, you will need to know how to use terminal or command prompt to set up and run your Java programs. So this is kind of like your fallback in case your system gets messed up or something. Okay? We're going to go over why Java exists. Why was it created in the first place? There were other programming languages already, so why was Java created? We'll go over how Java works. Why do we need to do the things we need to do to run a Java program? Then we'll get Java installed on everyone's machines. You're all running Macs. That makes your life way easier. However, it can still be done on Windows just fine. And then we'll actually configure Java on your machine, but again, because you're running Mac, that'll be a little easier for you. And then we'll write your first program, okay? And in common programming tradition, we will just print something to the screen that says, "Hello World." And then we'll teach you about compiling in Java and what compiling means, along with running that program that you write. Does that sound good? Cool. All right, let's dive in. So, terminal command prompt. Everyone's on Mac, so that makes things a little easier, but just for your knowledge, in case you work with people who are on Windows, like myself today. Terminal and command prompt, they're two different programs, but they serve the same function. Terminal is on Mac, command prompt is on Windows. If you hit, depending on how your system is configured, if you hit either Command spacebar or Control spacebar to bring up Spotlight, and you type in terminal, that will open the terminal, and I recommend you do that now. For folks on Windows, if you hit the Windows key, and you type in CMD, that will bring up the command prompt. And the Mac will basically look very similar to this, just inverted colors and slightly different text. So you might be wondering, why? Why do we need this? Java doesn't really have a user interface, right? So normally we have, on Mac we have Finder, and on Windows we have File Explorer, something like, something like this, where we can, click around to move into different folders and things like this. But Java doesn't have anything like this built in for your computer, right? Java only works on the terminal. Now, these two programs here, this File Explorer, or again on Mac, the equivalent is Finder. So in Finder and Terminal, they do the same thing, right? Here, I'm in the C users Draco. Please excuse the name, this laptop is very old. And if I go to that same location here, you can see files, right? These are just two different ways of looking at the same thing. So a lot of times people see this, this terminal or command prompt, and they're like, oh man, this is like intense, crazy hacking stuff. No, it's really not. At first it's very intimidating, but we're going to help you through it. We're not going to teach you everything, because this is actually pretty huge, just what we need to do for Java, okay? So what we're going to cover is moving around in your computer. So the equivalent of here in File Explorer or Finder, we might double-click a folder to go into it, right? and view what's in a folder, we're going to do the same thing here, okay? Again, it's the same, it's working with the same data, files and folders, just in a different way. Rather than images and clicky things, it's text. Does everyone get that so far? Cool. All right, so we're going to cover some of these. Commands here at the bottom. You can see. On Windows and Mac are slightly different. So I'm going to type some slightly different things from you guys, and I'm just going to have to ask for your patience and understanding. On Mac, if you type ls, it will show you the contents of your current directory. However, because I'm on Windows here, I'm going to type dir. And your output's going to look a little different than mine. Actually, you know what? I have something that looks like Mac. Let me pull that up so we can see both. There we go. All right, this is not Mac, but it's somewhat similar to Mac. And I'll use this to do a comparison. So if I do ls here, I don't have very many files, but you can see these are the files in my current folder. Okay? Same thing on Windows. I just have a lot more files here. Okay? Now, on Mac, you're not really going to see a difference. For example, this is a file, and this is a folder, but you can't really tell. For now, we're not going to worry too much about that. We're just going to run with it. On Windows, this right here is your location, okay, where you are on the computer. On Mac, this is your location, but that doesn't look very helpful, right? If there's a special command, you don't need to know this one. On Mac, this tilde symbol, it's called the tilde, the squiggly line, it's a shortcut to your home directory, okay? On Mac, it's something like users. Yeah, you know what? Typing like this is not fun. I'm sorry, Alex. Oh, gloves. But I appreciate the thought. My hands are definitely warmer than before.
I have fingerless too.
Maybe next time. So on Mac, user / in my case, my username on here is the beach. This would be my home folder, and this would be the same as tilde, right? But because I'm not on a real Mac here, it's different. But that's what it should be like for you guys on Mac. So again, ls to see your files and folders. On Mac, you should see a number of these, one of which should be documents. Right? Does everyone see when they run the ls command and hit enter, do they see documents as one of the outputs? Cool. Documents is a folder, right? On Windows, you can see this as dir. Now, when we write our Java files, they're going to be somewhere on our computer, right? We're going to interact with them on the terminal, and we need to get to that file. So I'm going to teach you guys how to move around in the terminal. So that shows you what's there. That's how you look at things. And then cd is short for change directory, okay? And often you'll see commands written like this. You'll see they'll have some kind of background, and they'll be in a console-like font. That's kind of an indicator like this is something you type into your terminal or something you read in a terminal, okay? And when you see these kind of less than, greater than symbols, usually that means you're not going to actually type those. It's a placeholder. You're going to enter something different there. This is just an example, okay? Does everyone understand that much? Cool. So if I want to go into my documents folder, what I would write, and you guys should follow along now, is cd and then documents. And if you type that and you hit enter, on your screen, let me on my not Windows side, I'm going to go into a projects folder instead. It should change to something like this. You'll either just see documents at the end here, or you might see tilde / documents. It depends on how your system is configured. But has everyone got that set up? Great. So that's how you can move around in folders. And then if you want to go back up a folder, you can do cd space ... You see, previously I was in documents. Now I'm back in my home directory. But for our purposes, I'm going to stay in documents. Okay? And now, usually when we're doing programming, you might be working on many different projects. And usually, to help keep yourself organized, you want to have a different folder for each project. So now what we're going to do is create a folder to put our project into. To create a folder, we use this, at the bottom of the screen here, once this little tooltip goes away, this mkdir, okay? That's short for make directory. So we're going to do mkdir, and let's just call it intro Java, okay? I'm going to have to do something funny, though, because I already have a folder from when I was preparing for this, so excuse me a moment while I remove it. But if you run that command, you should set up your Java, the folder that we will use for today's project. And then if you could go ahead and cd into it, we will be ready to go. All right, good. There we go. And then cd intro Java. And now you'll see my path is my home directory, and then documents, and then intro Java. Is everyone up to this point? Not? Okay. Do you need help, or you just need time? Okay, let me check it out for you. So what you had here was, okay, so you did ls, and then instead of cd documents previously, so what we're going to do is, you want to back up to the users directory. We're going to go back to your home directory. And then we're going to, so now if we do ls again, okay, we're now on the right place, cd space documents. So you changed that. So now go ahead and do mkdir. Oh, sorry, it's all one word. There you go. Perfect. Okay. And after mkdir, you want to enter the name of the directory. So do intro Java as the name. No spaces. Perfect. Great. Oh, sorry. That brings up a really good point. Sorry, folks. Something I forgot to mention that's very important. When you're entering commands on terminal, you'll notice that when I do these commands where I'm changing something, like I'm changing my my location, or I'm creating a folder, it doesn't say anything. It's just a blank line. Usually, in terminal command prompt, when there's no output, everything's okay. All right? When there's a problem, then it's going to tell you a whole bunch of stuff. But if you see no output, things are usually okay. So let me finish helping her get set up, and then we'll continue. So very good. Now change into, so use cd to change directory. So cd space, and then the name of that directory. There you go. That's it. You did it. You're done. Now if you do ls, you'll see that this directory is empty because you just created it. Perfect. Good job. All right, does anyone else need help, or are you guys ready to move on? You ready? Okay. Cool. All right, so at this point, there's a lot more to terminal and command prompt, but for our needs, this is it. We're good. Okay. Now, for folks on the recording, on Windows, we will need to do more work later. On Mac, we only need to do a tiny bit of work, but we'll get to that when the time comes. For now, what you guys should do is just kind of minimize this. We're not going to need them right this moment, but later we will use them. Okay? So, that's a kind of little pre-lesson. All right? And now, on to Java. Are you guys in the back okay, or do you need some time?
I'm good now.
You're good now? Okay. So we're good on terminal command prompt. You can kind of like put that to the side in your mind. We're getting back into Java. So why does Java exist? Back in the olden times, if you wanted to write software for some computer, right? If I wanted to write a program for Windows and a program for Mac, before Java, I'd have to write the same program twice. Because how it would work on Windows would be significantly different from how it would work on Mac. And today that's still a little bit of the case, but for the most part that's less of a problem. And so having to rewrite code for different systems, A, you're rewriting code, that's a waste of time. B, a good portion of the code is the same, with just small parts that need to change. So you have a lot of repeated code, which means if you update something here, you have to go update it here too. And that leaves the opportunity for mistakes. And just the more code you have, the more mistakes are likely, right? So this was not good. It was slow, and it created bugs. Slow to work on, that is. And so, also, in the olden languages, if you wanted to use some data, you had to tell the system, hey, give me some space to do data stuff with. And then when you finished, you had to make sure to give that space back to the system. Otherwise, you keep getting space, you keep getting space, and you keep getting space. And then the system runs out of space and crashes. And that's not good, right? Java was meant to solve both of these problems. Both the problem of having copied but changed code for different systems and having to reserve and release space. So now, Java, you write code once, and it runs on any system. And we're going to explain how it does that in a minute. And because of that, and because you don't have to manage the memory yourself, Java does the reserving and releasing memory on its own. You generally don't need to think about it. There are times where you do when you're getting into more detailed stuff. But at the high level, you don't need to worry about it. And so this means you can write code faster, because you only need to write it once. You have fewer bugs, because you have fewer copies of the code. And you don't have to worry about memory management, which is also fewer bugs and faster to write. So Java was a huge benefit. These days, a lot of other languages are similar in these ways, but due to Java's age, it has a lot more tools, a lot more utilities to help you write code really fast. Okay? Questions about that so far? Cool. So, how does it do this, right? Java sounds like this magical thing that made programming better forever and ever, right? It's not magic. When you write code, right, when we get to the point where we're writing code today, it's just going to be text. You're just going to use your keyboard, right? There's no like magical incantations. And you're going to save this text in a file. We're going to call that file a Java file, okay? Because it contains Java code. But your laptop does not understand this. Your laptop is a stupid computer. It only understands zeros and ones, okay? And the code that you're going to write are not zeros and ones, okay? So how do we go from the code you write to your laptop understanding it? 2 steps. 1, we're going to use something called a compiler. It takes our code, understands the instructions, and compiles it into zeros and ones that your computer can understand. However, Java's a little bit complicated. Those zeros and ones aren't going to be run directly on your computer. Because back, similar to the olden days before Java, then we'd have to write a different set of zeros and ones for each type of computer, right? Different code. And Java is supposed to avoid that. So instead, Java has a virtual machine, okay? It's a computer that runs inside your computer. And that computer runs your code, okay? And that computer, the creators of Java, have written that code to work on all the different machines. So they did that part so you don't have to. So thank you to Sun and Oracle for making our lives a little easier. Sun and Oracle being Sun being the company that created Java, Oracle being the one who owns it now. So when we write our Java, we write it in a Java file. We use a compiler to transform it into zeros and ones, and this file is called a bytecode file. Okay, and that's something you'll want to remember: Java file, bytecode file. And then we give that bytecode file to the Java virtual machine, and it runs our program. Okay, and I can take that Java code, and I can run it on Mac, I can run it on Windows, I can run it on an Android phone, and it'll just work. I don't have to rewrite anything. Does that make sense? Cool. So, to kind of illustrate what we have, once we get our bytecode file, we then feed it to the JVM that Sun created. All right, Sun being some company. And then that JVM was written specifically for each platform. And then that runs it on the physical computer itself for us. Okay? Just a little, if you're more visually oriented, hopefully this helps a little bit. So, now, let's get to the fun part, installing Java. If you have the presentation up on your computer, you can just click these links. Otherwise, if you just go into a browser, if I can find, that'll work. Oh, I don't know what you are, so go over here. And then if you just search for JDK download, you should see Java SE downloads. Okay. Now, real quick, there's actually two different versions of Java. There's the Oracle Java, which is owned by Oracle and no one else can see the code. And then there's the Open JDK, the Open Java, which anyone can see the code and submit modifications. Some people ethically try to use the open versions rather than the Oracle-specific versions. That's your choice. Personally, I don't worry about it too much. If you want the open version, you just search for Open JDK, and then you can find it. But both are fine. For our purposes, they'll do the same thing. I'm just going to go to the Oracle website because that's a little harder, and we can go along it together. So you should see a page like this, and then if you scroll down, you'll see this, wait, no, what? Oh, sorry, right at the top here, you'll see this JDK download. This is the latest version. Oh, except on Mac, you're not going to do this. There's an easier way for you guys to do it. So, huh? Yeah, we're going to use Brew. So, but let me just go over this for the Windows people on recording. So Windows people, once you click that link, you're going to scroll down, and you're going to look for this Windows x64 installer. You're going to download and run this, and you should be good to go. Well, there are some steps that will be required after this, but I'm going to get to that later. For you Mac people, what we're going to do here is go ahead and go to this website, brew.sh. Now we're going to install this other piece of software called Brew. It's a software manager, okay? You know, like the App Store on your Mac, that Apple manages everything and people often have to charge money because it costs extra money to put on the App Store. Homebrew is kind of like that, but less Apple, less money. So if you go to brew.sh, oh, and Homebrew is targeting software engineers. So this has lots of software tools for you to use. And pretty much every engineer uses this. So once you go to this page, brew.sh, you should see something like this. And then you want to click this little icon down here. Okay? And that will copy it. That's like doing a Control-C, right? And then if you go back to your terminal and you paste it, for Mac folks, you want to do Command-V for ease. And you run this, it will install Brew for you. Okay? Now, if you... Yes. So when you run this, it's going to ask you to enter a password. That's the password for your computer. The password you use to log into your computer. Additionally, a pop-up may appear. I'm sorry that I can't demonstrate it on the screen here, but a pop-up may appear asking you to install Xcode Select tools or something like that. That is normal and expected. Hit OK, yes, do that. And it will also have some sort of message saying like, oh, I want to do this, press Enter to continue or any other key to stop. Just go ahead and press Enter. I should have used my Mac today. All right, so that's going to take a couple minutes. How are we doing on time? Oh, we're doing really good. Cool. I'm just going to give you guys a few minutes to go through that. If you hit something that you're not familiar with or have questions, please tell me. Otherwise, I'm just going to chill for a minute. Yeah, I gotcha. No worries. This is one of the harder things we do. So. It looks like not. Oh. Is this like your laptop or a company laptop or? Oh. Can I look at some stuff? Because it seems like your user is configured a little strangely. You are an admin. password to log in? When you restart your laptop, do you use a password to log in? Yeah. And is that the same password you entered? When you, oh, right, I'm sorry. Try it again, but let me say something into the recording real quick. Sorry, folks, I forgot something. For people who are not terribly familiar with command line on Mac, when it asks you to enter your password and you start typing, you're not going to see anything. That's normal and expected, okay? It's a security feature, so that if someone's looking over your shoulder, they can't see how long your password is when you type it in. So just kind of blindly type in your password and hit enter and hope for the best, all right? That's looking good. Yes, so it's going to ask you to do this, hit enter. And then there's a pop-up going to come up. There we go.
That comes with Java installed in an older version.
Oh. Alright. We'll just get the up-to-date version. That's fine. But yeah, I'll mention that in the okay, so it looks like this is just going to take some time. Is anyone else at the point where they're downloading Fruit? You're good? You're good? Alright, so we're just going to check back on this occasionally. It is right, yes. Yeah, it looks like that. Okay. This usually takes a while. So I'm just gonna once something happens with this, tell me and we'll pause and we'll get it going. Alright, now for Mac folks, when you run this, it is likely going to take a while. But it is worth it because you're going to use this very often. Now once you have that installed, actually, you know what? I'm just going to try and we're going to see if I have it installed already. Okay, looks like I probably do already. Oops, that's not the correct password. That is. Oh, looks like I don't have it installed either. But this one's so for folks on the recording, mine is running a little faster than probably going to run faster than yours on Mac because this is not actually Mac. This is Linux. So a lot of the Xcode stuff it doesn't have to do. Also, Alex brought up a good point. Java is actually already installed on your machine, just a much older version. This is just the kind of practice to get the new version set up nicely. And that way, if you ever need to upgrade or downgrade, doing this way is much easier. Cool. That looks good. We're looking good. So, now, again, this is only installing Brew. We have not updated Java yet. We're going to do that later, okay? We're going to leave this running in the background and we're going to continue forward, okay? And for folks here on Mac, when your homebrew installation does something, and if you're not sure what to do, just let me know. We'll pause and we'll figure it out together, okay? This is always a pain. So if you're here or if you're on the recording and you're having trouble with this and something goes wrong, don't worry, it's normal. That's why there's a whole class dedicated to just this, okay? And if later you have problems, you can always message us on Discord, and I'll put the Discord link up later. Alright, so I'm going to wait for that to go, and we're going to go back to the presentation if I can find the correct tab. Yeah, there we go. And we'll come back to this again once people get Brew set up. But you can search for software using Brew search, and we're just going to search for the Java JDK. Brew only has the Open JDK, so if you need the Oracle JDK, you'll need to do it with the Oracle site, and that's less fun. And then when you're ready, you can just do Brew install Open JDK, and it'll do everything for you. There is one more step, but we'll get to that once you guys install it. So for now, we're going to move on. We'll come back to this later, okay? I apologize for the hopping around, but there's not really a better way to do it because this takes time. Now on Mac, after you do the Brew install OpenJDK, it'll give you a whole bunch of output. of like, oh, things you can do to update the installation. And there's just one line that we need to run, and then we're done. We don't need to worry about it. Speaking of, oh, cool, mine's done. So we'll come back to this later once other people here have theirs finished. On Windows, we have to do a whole bunch more work, and it's not fun. For you folks here on Mac, I'm going to ask for your patience a little bit while I run through this quickly for the video. You want to hit the Windows key, bring up your control panel. I'm going to go through this quickly because if you're watching the video, you can always pause and rewind. From here, you're going to want to go to System and Security, and then you will want to go to the Environment Variables. But I don't have the patience to read through all this, so I'm just going to search for Environment Variables. And there we go, edit the system environment variables. All right, once you get that, it should appear, you should see a window like this. And then ideally in some kind of file explorer, you can hit Windows E as a shortcut to bring this up. I'm going to save you a whole lot of time and show you where the installation path is. It usually installs to here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to this PC, and we're going to go to our C drive. Disregard that I have no space. Program files, and down to Java. Now you'll notice here I have two directories. That's because I have an ancient version of Java installed. But you'll want to go to this new one that we downloaded, JDK15, and then you're going to want to go to bin. All right? This is where the Java files themselves are for Windows. The stuff that Sun and Oracle wrote to make the JVM work on Windows. So what you want to do is once you've gotten to this folder, you click this up here, and it will give you this path. You Control-C to copy that. Over here on the right, you go to Environment Variables. You'll see all this nonsense. And you'll scroll down here, and you look for one that says Path. Here you go. This is what you want. If you click Edit, hopefully your stuff will be a lot shorter than mine, but you click New, and then paste. Enter. Whoops. Enter. Okay. What? Huh? Did I messed something up here. Oh, my path is too big because I have a lot of junk in here. Crap. Well, on your system, you won't run into this issue because you haven't been doing stupid things with technology for however many years. So normally you would hit OK. It's not working for me, but for you it'll work. Hit OK, 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 and you're done. Now, again on Windows, because we just did that, we actually have to run a new command prompt, and we have to navigate to our project again. So cd documents, cd intro Java, and then there we are. Okay, nothing in there because it's an empty folder. But now, and we're going to come back to this again on Mac later. If you do java-version, you should see something like this. If you see this, then it's installed correctly. If you see something like name not recognized or executable not found, it means it wasn't installed correctly and there's a problem. You should look back in the video and check the steps. Cool. So for Mac folks, thank you for being patient. How are you doing on your homebrew install? Still going? Let me take a look. Oh, it's finished. Okay, great. So now, go ahead and run a brew. Where did mine? Okay. Type in brew. Oh, and for you guys who already have brew installed, type in brew space install. I'm just going to pull it up here rather than telling it to you verbally. You're going to want to do this brew install OpenJDK. All right? For you Mac folks. Huh? Yay, OpenJDK. So I'm going to do it here. It might be a little bit different for me, but I'm going to try it. And it should download a whole bunch of stuff, install a whole bunch of stuff, and you should be good. Now, when it finishes, like I mentioned previously, it's going to have some text describing additional steps you may need to take. There is one that you will need to do, okay? And hopefully I'll have the same step as you, and we can just do the same thing. It's installing a whole bunch of other stuff that will allow Java to work, because my Linux installation here is pretty barren. It doesn't have a whole lot of stuff. Can I see how yours is doing? Okay, yours is just downloading stuff too, so it's going to take a little bit. Oh, it's already, oh damn, that fast. Cool, alright, so you're good to go. So unfortunately I don't have a good video for the recording here, but the output you should see is for the system wrappers, define the JDK, symlink it with, and then some command. This is what we want to do. So you want to copy the sudo ln momo. It starts with sudo and ends with openjdk.jdk. You want to copy that and then just paste it back in the terminal. And then hit enter to run it. It's going to ask you for your password. Go ahead and enter your password. Whoa. And not throw the remote control everywhere. And then you should be done. Now, at this point, if you have done that, my machine is still going, but on the other machines we have going here, if you type in Java, space, dash version, sorry, dash, hyphen. Yes. Cool. And you need a space after Java. There you go. Cool. No space between the dash and version though. Sorry that we have to be so picky, but computers are not smart enough to fix things for you. Oh. Right one in the back. There you go. Hit enter. And you're good. Good job. Yeah. Has everyone else got Java running on their machine? Java version shows? Good. You guys in the back, you okay? Excellent. And, crap, mine is still running. How are we doing on time? We're doing good. One of these days, this will finish. I didn't catch how many dependencies we have, though, so this could take a while. So I'm just going to let this run in the back. Oh, nope, now it's installing the JDK itself. Okay, cool. This should only take a couple of moments. And then hopefully I'll have the same command as the Mac people had. I do. It's not exactly the same, but the message is generally the same. So for the system Java wrappers, define this SDK, symlink it with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this guy here. If I was on Mac, I would do Command C, Command V, but on Windows, I just right-click and it's magic. Or Windows Mac. Yeah, here we go. Did it not run? Yeah. There we go. So now I'm going to run this. It's going to ask me for my password. I'm going to type in my password, hit enter, and that's cool. Yeah, so if I was on the Mac, this would work, but because I'm on Linux and it thinks it's a Mac, it's all sorts of confused, so I'm not going to worry about it. We're just going to see if it happened to magically work. And nope, looks like it didn't. Crap. But that's just on my system. On your system, if you follow these steps, it should work fine. My system is really strange. Don't worry about it. Other people here on site at the meetup got it to work following these steps, so you on the video should be fine. All right, going back to setting up Java on your machine. Everyone at this point should have Java-version working properly. Good? No? Okay. Good, good. All right, so I'm going to come help you out real quick. Oh, you got it? All right, cool. I'm still going to wait a moment to give you time. Okay, that's all. So, did you copy and run this line here? This zero one? Okay, do that. Copy and run that. It will ask you for your password. Really? Oh, you're checking Java. It's Java. You're good. Yeah, so keep typing J-A-V-E instead of J-A-V-A. What? Alright. Cool. Alright. So everyone here is set up and we're going to move forward. So good job, everyone. I promise you that's the hardest part of this whole class. So good job getting this far. At this point, there's a little preface I need to give. Computers are stupid. Okay? If you make a mistake, they're not going to fix it for you. So when you're typing this stuff, we're going to need to be very specific, and you have to copy it exactly as I write it, okay? A little bit of the white space, like extra spaces or extra new lines, that stuff's okay, but all these different symbols have to be exactly right. If you don't get them right, you're not going to have a good time. And later, as you're learning programming, you are going to make mistakes getting the symbols wrong, okay? It's just something that happens. Even someone like me who's been doing this stuff for over 10 years, I still make those mistakes. You're going to see all sorts of errors, and it'll be very good if you get used to that. There's a common saying that, oh, if you write something and it works on the first try, something is probably terribly wrong, you just can't see it. Something is always wrong, you almost never get something right on the first try, okay? So when you encounter errors, which you will, don't beat yourself up over it. It's okay. All right, does everyone understand that? Cool. All right, so let's get started. If you downloaded and installed Visual Studio Code, you will want to open that now, and it should look, I want to see, it's actually not going to quite look like this. Let me get a new instance going. It should look something like this. There you go. Except you won't have this stuff down here. But, does everyone have Visual Studio Code installed and it looks something like this? Cool. Alright, so earlier, we made that intro Java folder on the command line, right? We're going to use that here. So go ahead and click Open Folder. Oh man, this is great. This is lovely. Good eyesight is the thing, right? Okay, so let me, I'm going to go to my Documents folder, because that's where I made it. And then I'm going to look for my Intro Java folder, and I'm not seeing it. That's not good. Why am I not seeing it? Did I not make it? I thought I made it. Crap! Something's weird here. This is not right. Oh, on my machine it's a little... Man, my machine is all sorts of wrong, dude. What? Well, in your Documents folder, you should see an Intro Java folder, and you should select it, but I'm going to cheat, and I'm just going to make it, because for some reason it doesn't already exist. So you want to go into that Intro Java folder, and then once you're here, you just want to click Select Folder, okay? And once you've done that, Visual Studio Code should change drastically and should look something more like this. The thing that'll tell you if you got it right is over here on the left side, it should say Intro Java, okay? So is everyone to that point? Cool. All right, so now you've got Java set up, you have your project folder, now we're going to write our first program, okay? So what you want to do is, if you move your mouse here, over to the left side, you'll see these symbols appear when you get close to Intro Java. You want to click this one on the left. This is New File, okay? Or if you want to be fancy, you can just do Control-N. They're the same, whatever. Click, and then you want to type this exactly as I do. Hello, with a capital H, world, with a capital W, and then .java, okay? The cool thing, you'll notice that this symbol changes to the J once you type Java, because Visual Studio Code is cool like that. Once you've done that, hit Enter, and you should see it appear on the right side here. Now, this pop-up is going to come up. I intentionally did not do this earlier because I knew I would forget about it, and I wanted to make sure you guys saw it. Click Install. This is good. You want this. Okay? So what this is doing, Visual Studio Code supports many different programming languages, but to keep itself lightweight and small, it does not start with everything, okay? When you start to do things, it goes, oh, I recognize this, but I don't have all of the parts. Do you want me to go get the rest of the parts to do this? And that way, you can kind of tailor Visual Studio Code to what you code in, without having all the extra weight of other stuff you don't use, okay? So go ahead and click Install. And then it'll bring you over here, and it's going to install this Java extension pack, which has a whole bunch of nice, fancy things for Java. Okay? And after that, you don't need to worry about it. It's going to do all that in the background. Okay? So everyone, Click that button, and you're here. Cool. At this point, it's happening in the background. We don't got to worry about it. Click the X. Okay? The X that was up here up top. So it should look something like this if you click the X up here, or if you do Control F4. Sorry, you're on Mac. Maybe Command W. It will close this tab. And this other tab will show up later. This is way more advanced than we're doing right now. These tabs are going to show up as things finish installing. Just kill them. We're not going to use them now. Later, as you learn more Java, we will use them. Okay? Basically, you want to get back to here. Also, you'll see on the left side here, it's got this Java extension thing. You want to click this top icon here to go back to your File Explorer. Okay? I cannot click. There we go. Is everyone here? Cool. What are you talking about, dude? I already got it. Get out of here. You shouldn't see that error. This is just my machine being stupid. Okay, so this is your Java file. This is where we're going to write our code. Okay? So we created this Hello World Java file. And in Java, we have this concept of classes, okay? Class like classification, not like a class where you're learning things, okay? We're not going to go deep into that today. That's for lesson 4, I think. No, lesson 5. 6? Later than now. But you want to type this because everything in Java needs to be part of a class, okay? So go ahead and type this class hello world. It should look exactly like this, okay? And signal me when you've gotten that done. Good. Good. Cool. Now, you'll notice oh, damn it, that's not what I wanted to do. Perfect, okay. You'll notice that this matches this. That is good. That's what we want. Your class name should match your file name. Technically, it doesn't have to, but it'll make your life much simpler if it does. Otherwise, you run into all sorts of nasty things in the future, okay? Now, you'll notice, mine's not complete here. Actually, here we go. Perfect. You'll notice this white dot up here in Visual Studio Code. That means you have not saved the file, okay? This is very helpful because if you try to do stuff in other programs, but you didn't save the file, the other programs aren't going to see the updates. Please disregard this. The other program's not going to see the updates because you didn't save the file. So this white dot is not your friend, okay? It kind of is in that you get to see it, but you don't want it to be there. So white dot means you need to save. You have two options. You can either click File, Save if you are slow, or if you want to be fast, you can do Control S, okay? And then you'll see the white dot goes away, okay? So get used to hitting Control S like every 5 seconds, all right? So this is our class. It matches our file name as it should. And now between these curly brackets here, and for people in the video who may have trouble following along, curly brackets, if you do Shift, and then there's the square brackets kind of between the enter and the backspace. That's how you get these curly brackets. Now, if you put your cursor between them and you hit enter, it should do this. Now, first time someone does this, they're going to be like, what the hell just happened? Right? Because all I did was hit enter. It should just give me one new line. But Visual Studio Code helps you format your code. Code is really difficult to read. So formatting it in a certain way makes it easier to read, which is good, and it does this for you. So what it does is it actually gives you 2 new lines, and it gives you a tab, because that's the kind of standard convention for how we organize this type of code. And you'll see more of this later. So everyone should have this part. Following this, we're going to need to type this. This is really long. It sucks. You're also going to have to memorize it, okay? You will want to memorize this. Otherwise, your life's not going to be fun, okay? So I'm going to type it up here so you can copy it. And once everyone has it typed out, I'll explain what it is. Please signal me once you have it typed out. Alright, cool. Good? Alright, so now, just like before, in between the curly brackets, hit enter, and you'll get all the nice little formatting. Now, this is kind of the important part. What we've done here is we've created a function, okay? We're not going to cover in detail what functions are today. But we've created this function, and its name is main, okay? When we run a Java program, it looks for this main function, all right? And it's going to run whatever logic is inside this main function. Now, when I say inside, you may be asking what that means. These curly brackets, okay, the ones here and the ones here, you'll notice how when I click them, the closing bracket highlights, right? What is in between these curly brackets is said to be inside that thing. So in this case, I have some class, right? And then I have a curly bracket, right? Whatever's in between these curly brackets is said to be inside this class, okay? So you have something, curly brackets, and then what's between the curly brackets is inside the thing. I'm using thing. I know it's not a great descriptive word, but it can really cover a large number of different things in programming. So I'm just saying thing, because there's not really a better word for it. All right. So in this case, we have some main function, and it can contain some other stuff. Okay. So now, this is all we need to have a Java program running, but just this alone, you're not going to know if it works. So we're going to add one more thing, and these I kind of covered already. Again, you'll want to memorize this, all right, the public static void main string args. You'll want to memorize that later. But for now, we just want to type this. And this will print out hello world to the screen. I'm going to type it here so you can see it. Whoa, hello caps lock, jeez. Sorry. I'm just going to give people some time to type that out. Is everyone good? All right. So this logic is said to be inside the main function because it's between these curly brackets. And this main function is said to be inside this class because it's between these curly brackets. So you can have things inside other things, inside other things, inside other things, ad infinitum. I think that's the right use of that term. So this line right here, I'm not going to get into too much detail with it because there's a whole bunch of stuff that needs to be taught for you to understand this. Java's a little difficult because you have to assume a whole bunch of stuff at first, but I promise eventually you'll understand all of it. This prints out a line of text to the output of your system, okay? And it's going to print hello world, okay? This is a perfectly valid program. So, congratulations, you've written your first Java program. But we haven't run it yet. We don't actually know if it works. So, first off, make sure to save. If the white dot is there, it shouldn't be. Kill it with Control S, right? And now, back to your terminal, okay? Actually, let me back to my slides for a second. You want to go back to your terminal. Now, to run this, remember earlier we talked about Java code and bytecode and these kinds of things? Now we need to do all of that. We need to take our Java code that we wrote as text and compile it to the zeros and ones that are bytecode. All right? When we install the Java, it installed a special command for us. Okay? This command is called javac. It's short for Java compiler. So we can use this command to take our Java code and turn it into bytecode. Okay? And we're going to do that on terminal. And I'm going to say this a few times because this process is a little bit tricky to remember, so I'm going to repeat it a bunch. Now, after we compile our Java code to our bytecode, all right, actually, I'm sorry, one more thing. If you have any hungle in your file, you need to do an extra step, okay? You do javac with the name of your Java file, okay? If you type this, javac will find that file, read it, and then transform it into the binary bytecode, the ones and zeros that we need. And it'll create a file for us, okay? However, if you have hungle in your file, at the end, you need to add a space and then this part. Because Java natively is kind of stupid. So, granted, this actually might not be a problem on Mac, because I only encountered this on Windows. Maybe Mac folks, you'll be okay. But we'll see, we'll test it. And then once you've done this, the compiler will create a new file for you. It'll create that bytecode file. And it should be called helloworld.class. Okay? Does everyone understand that conceptually? Cool. Now we're going to repeat it again, but this time you're actually going to do it. All right? So, go to your terminal. Let me clear this out real quick. All right, so I'm in my intro Java folder. I'm going to do dir, but you Mac folks do ls. Hey? Oh, that's why I'm in the wrong. Hold up. Sorry. Give me a second. Ooh. Give me a second to catch up. Sorry. Cool. So you should see your hello world.java file, right? Does everyone do that if they see ls? Cool. So now, like we said before, we need to use the javac tool, the Java compiler, to take this hello world.java file, our Java code, and convert it to bytecode, binary. So we're going to do javac, then we're going to do hello world.java. It must match exactly. The computer is stupid, and if it does not match, it's not going to know what the hell you're talking about. Okay? So write this exactly as I have it. If you have hungle, you're going to need to add this. Okay? But we haven't typed that yet. We're going to do that in a minute. If you do this, you'll see nothing. Do you remember what that means if we see nothing? Everything's okay. Good. So after doing this, if you do dir, or I'm sorry, on Mac, if you do ls, on Windows, if you do dir, you should see this hello world.class file. Okay? The Java compiler created that for us. All right, so everyone please do that and make sure we're on the same page. If it's not that, tell me and I'll help you out. You okay?
Yeah.
You got the class file created? Cool. Kat, Catherine, do you need some help?
I think I have it.
Cool. All right, so I need to make this notification go away. Cool. Let's actually do this so it's easier to see. There we go. Okay. So now we have our class file. Great. Whoops. So this part's done. You have compiled your first Java program. Good job. Now, the cool thing is that if there's a significant problem with your Java file, the compiler will tell you. It'll give you an error. It'll be like, I can't transform this into bytecode because it's not good Java code. And it'll tell you at that point. And then it'll ideally give you some sort of error that will describe what the problem is to help you go fix it. Okay? But everyone here copied everything perfectly. So good job, because none of you ran into that. And I'm actually kind of sad because I was hoping you would, but that's okay. Actually, you know what? Let's do. I'm going to intentionally introduce a problem. I'm going to remove the semicolon, and I believe it's going to complain. Yeah. So it's going to say error, semicolon expected here. Okay. So ideally, the compiler should warn you about problems before you try to run your program. It will actually not create the class file when this happens. Okay. So let me add that back. Compile my file, and we're good. Beautiful. All right. Now, moving forward. So you have your bytecode file, right? You have the zeros and ones file that you can give to the JVM. Remember, the computer running inside your computer. And then it will run your code. So Java C is the compiler. Java is the JVM. Okay? So to run your program, you want to run Java, and then you only need to enter the name of the class. Okay? This is why the file name matters, remember? Because what it's going to do is it's going to look for hello world.class. You don't have to write the .class part. This is how Java C and Java are different. Java C, you have to include the .java part. Java, you don't need to include the .class part. Okay? So it will search the current directory for a bytecode file with this class inside it. So now, if you do Java hello world, there you go. Did everyone get that? Good, good, good. All right, congratulations on running your first Java program. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. So to describe the whole process from start to finish, you change code in your Java file. Okay? Don't forget to save it. Then in terminal or command prompt, you use cd and ls or dir to navigate to your project directory. Use Java C to compile your Java file. And then use Java to run the compiled version. Okay? Now, I'm going to show you one more thing, okay, before we finish. I've taught you a lot of stuff today, right? In a week, you're not going to remember this. We're human. We forget things. But, ideally, your computer won't forget. This is a whole bunch of code that we wrote, and you don't really understand it yet, right? But you need to understand the process. You need to understand why we did things the way we did. And from the most junior developers who are just learning how to code like you guys right now, to people who have been doing this stuff for 30 years, code gets complicated. We can't always know what it's going to do. So sometimes we need to take notes, and we can do that here. On any line, you can add it here, you can add it here, you can add it here, wherever. I'm going to add it here just for kicks. If you do a // you can type anything here, and Java will ignore it. Okay? This is an excellent way to take notes. Okay? Additionally, that's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is if you do /*, and then later you do a // anything between them, Java ignores. Okay? So take some time now. Take 5 or 10 minutes. We have plenty of time. We're actually way ahead of schedule. And write some notes for yourself, describing what you did. English, Hangul, whatever. If you do Hangul, you need to do that encoding thing that I mentioned. If you write English, you won't need to worry about that. But go ahead and take some notes for yourself, explaining what just happened. And if you're thinking through it and you're like, wait, why did we do this again? Ask me. Okay? So take 5-10 minutes and take some notes. Just to jog your memory later, because you're going to forget all this.
So the Mac version doesn't need to be
Sorry?
Mac version doesn't.
That's cool. Also, for folks on the video, and I guess for folks here too, thanks to Alex supporting me here. On the Mac, if you have Hangul in your file, you don't need to do the encoding thing. So writing Java C just as we had is fine. It's only on Windows that you have to do the Java C - encoding thing. So you Mac folks don't gotta worry about it. Thank you, Alex.
But that was for the hardcode experience, not the very concern.
Yeah.
Can you have Hangul very on
You can. It's just not fun. It causes all sorts of other problems. It's not worth it. It's way easier to just keep all your variable names and function names and all do stuff in Korean characters, it's just not fun. Yes, there you go. That's only the beginning. You can make it work. My adventures at SK, trying to get that stuff. Dude, why do you guys write everything in English? You're in Korea. No, we're not going to write that in Korean. That's a bad idea. Why? So I played with it. And I'm like, yeah, no, this is a bad idea. Take some notes. And also tonight I will add my own notes in comments to this. However, those notes may or may not be helpful to you because your mind is not the same as my mind. So what makes sense to me may not make sense to you. So there's still value in writing your own notes, okay? And that's going to be true going forward as well. Take notes while you do stuff. It just helps. One set of notes that may help. You know what, I'm actually gonna, should I do this now or later? Yeah, I'll do it now since we're at the note-taking spot. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take these slides, and if you're in our Discord channel, I'm gonna link those in our Discord. If I can find the button. There we go. And what I'm gonna do over here is, for our Intro to Java class people, the slides can be found here. Here. Typing, it's hard. Okay? Now, I recommend putting a link to this in your code, just so that just having everything connected will help your memory get going.
Thank you.
Yeah. So following that, homework. We are treating this as like a class. This is homework. I'm not going to grade it or anything like that. We're not doing it like that. The purpose of the homework, we're only going to meet one time a week. And you're going to forget stuff over the course of a whole week. So to try to make it a little better is, I'm assigning homework, and I recommend that you do it on like Wednesday or Thursday or sometime in the middle of the week to kind of refresh your memory. So that when we come back next Sunday, things are a little fresher and you're ready to move forward. Okay? So the homework, it's not too difficult. It's basically the same thing we did today. Create a new Java file, but you're going to give it a different name. In it, create a class with a name that matches the file name. And then instead of writing hello world, you're going to write I wrote this myself. Okay? Then just like we did today, you're going to compile it, you're going to run it. And then the most important part, once you get it working, celebrate. Because this stuff's hard and you have to reward yourself, okay? So yeah, that's the homework. And do we have any questions? Oh, okay. Yeah, that was actually a lot faster than I expected. You guys are good, because usually this takes me the full 2 hours to teach. So good job, guys. On that note, so thank you. We're still gonna talk about stuff, but for purposes of like the recording and all that, we're finished. So thank you for coming. We are CodeSeoul, and we are a registered nonprofit. So if you want to donate, that would be cool, but we do not require it. All of our events are free, and they will always be free. So don't feel pressured. But if you do have spare income or whatever, and you do want to help out, we would appreciate that. Donation info is here. We are a Phase 1 nonprofit, which means that donations to us are not tax deductible yet. But next year, on like July or June or something? Sometime next year. Yeah, sometime in summer next year, we will hit phase 2, and then donations will be tax deductible. However, if you just want to be kind and donate some money so we can bring stuff like snacks to these kind of events, that would be cool. And I also donate. Actually, I'm mostly bankrolling it myself right now. So, yeah, that's it. Beyond that, thank you folks on the video for listening in. And now on site here, we're just going to relax and talk and ask questions and probably clarify a whole bunch of the magic going on here. So, thank you for watching.